All right, good day, everyone. So this is the November 24th. So we're 31 days from Christmas. It's the November 24th Hope Session. And today I have my good friend and realtor, Patrick Gillis. So welcome, Patrick. How are you?
Hi, Tyler Wain. I'm very well. It's good to. I've known Tyler for a long time. It's been a great friendship, and actually worked in with him as far as real estate goes too, and also golfed with Tyler a lot and had some great times. So we go way back.
Yeah, and that's where I'm really excited. So as Patrick mentioned, he was my realtor when I was in Toronto. So I always recommend getting a local realtor. So probably have my local one down here on sometime. But for today, lots happening in the real estate market. There's rising interest rates, things are shifting, new laws, everything coming in. So I really felt, to have Patrick on. He's seen the ups and the downs, so we could just chat a bit about it, and always good to have a good ribbing too. He's a Tom Brady and Pats fan, but we let that go. We let that go.
Yeah, thanks, Tyler. I appreciate that. Actually, the East Division with the Pats are really tight right now. There's two at 6-4 and two at 7-3. So we're only one win away from the lead, baby.
I know.
For the Pats, they struggled a little bit there, but now Mac Jones is back in the game after the injury, and we're playing well. They're playing tonight at 8:20 Thursday.
Oh,
yeah, Thanksgiving.
Big game.
Sunday night. It'll be good.
Big game. Good stuff. Yeah, that division was a surprise. Definitely surprise. All right. So what are you seeing out there, Pat? Or I'll say Patty G. That's how I know him. So how are things going out there? What are you seeing in the market?
Well, there's a lot of moving parts. I think basically we started off the year really crazy strong. Coming out of the pandemic, interest rates were really, really low. I mean, basically the Bank of Canada rate was zero, and then close to it, and then which means the interest rates for getting a mortgage or loans were very low, and of course the government printed a lot of money and gave away a lot of money for help, and so it just created a lot of inflation. And so the Bank of Canada really wanted to increase rates to curb inflation, which is what we're dealing with right now. We've had 6 interest rate increases this year, which is a lot. I mean, I feel that they started too late and now they're playing catch up. So it's a big rush. Interest rates really went up fast and hard. And that, of course, affected the average sales price in the GTA. I'm talking about the GTA now. So that's what we've been dealing with. We kind of have seen a little bit of a plateauing, a little bit of a plateau period, and a little bit of settling in the last sort of 4-5 months. And there was more of a drop in the spring after the initial interest rate. So that's what we're dealing with right now. Rates are higher, definitely. Average sales prices have dropped in the GTA, but the market is still strong in many aspects, and we're moving along.
Yeah. So a bit of a turmoil in the market, but I mean, that's kind of the part, right? So I guess let me ask you this, like from other times where you've seen rising interest rates, or there's a bit of talk about recession, which maybe we'll get to next, but versus some other times where you've seen that, what's like, do you see it worse, or is it about the same as some other times where the market's kind of slowed?
The interest rates now are not too far off where they were a number of years ago. We're still, generally speaking, based on history, at a pretty decent interest rate. It just depends on your perspective of where you're coming from and where you're at now. So, for instance, coming from 0 interest rates to like 5 or 4, it's a big increase. So I remember back in 1989, interest rates were double digit, like 12-13%. I remember getting a mortgage in 1989, and I got it. The mortgage was 11. The interest rates were 11.75%, and I thought, wow, that was a win because I just got under 12%. I mean, everything was so much different back then. That's going back quite a while, 30 some odd years, but. Other times, interest rate increases were more slow and steady as opposed to this year. This was a huge, fast increase, and it really knocked a lot of people off their feet. Didn't expect it. A lot of people who were in variable mortgages did not lock in, feeling there might be 1 or 2 increases. And of course, after 6, they're going to ride it out. They wouldn't want to lock in right now. They'd rather ride it out with variable, because variable goes up, but they also come down. So I think once we're in check as far as inflation goes, rates could foreseeably come back down again in another year, year and a half, and then edge back down a little bit further. The biggest thing is the Bank of Canada wants to get inflation in check. And I think we were at 8 point something percent in the summer, and we're at 6.9 now, and last month was 6.9. So it is edging down. It might take a while, but it really depends on what happens over the winter.
Yeah, no, and so definitely keep looking, but this is something I tell people too, right? Like interest rates, they're rising, and they're rising fast, as you alluded to, which very fast, but at a historical context, they're not that high, right? No. Like they're just getting back from where they were at all-time lows.
Yes.
So it's not like something's totally amiss or off. It's just coming fast, and like you say, the inflation too, it's putting pressure. So I actually did a post earlier today on if people are in variable rate mortgages and you hit your trigger rate, because about 1 in 4 people are in variable versus fixed, and they've said about 50% of people have hit your trigger rate. So your payment is now totally going to interest, and it's not actually covering the interest. So the banks are coming back. But just read some of my posts. But I guess my question to you, Pat, would be: do you expect to start seeing people if they're in a trigger rate, right? Will that create more supply of houses, or even just the general pressure? Are you foreseeing some people facing challenges with their budget because you got inflation, you got mortgage rates? Are they going to start offloading and stepping down, or do you feel they'll still look to refinance?
It's a good question. I think it's still a bit early in the game. From what I've heard or seen, I think last month, as far as stats go, I think the default rate in people being behind in mortgages or not paying the mortgage payment is very, very, very low here in Canada. Because if you remember, I think it was maybe 3 years ago, the Bank of Canada started qualifying people with the stress test. And the stress test is if the interest rate was 4%, they wanted buyers to qualify on 6 or 7%, about 2 or 3% higher, so that they could handle the stress of interest rates increasing, which is exactly what we're going through right now. So if anyone did qualify on a higher rate, they should be able to ride this storm if they did go with a variable rate and they're paying higher payments. So that's a bit of the challenge that people are facing right now. We have a few investment properties, and a couple of them are on the variable rate, and we are with a bank that kept the interest rate the same. It's TD. So TD did not increase the payments, but that means what you said, that how much you pay down in principal becomes less and less and less and less. So I spoke to my mortgage broker, and they said one of two things you should do is pay down if you're in a variable rate that's not fluctuating. It just means that you're paying less principal and a lot more interest. So either pay down a chunk of money when you have it, or increase your payments monthly, so that it becomes a position where you are paying down the principal more than you weren't, and then the trigger rate comes into play. And it sounds complicated, but it's always good to talk to a professional in those fields. You know, I deal with a lot of financing, but also I'm not a mortgage broker. But because I hear and understand and read up about it, then I can answer some questions. But I usually always say go to the expert and get their advice.
Yeah, no, great point. And yeah, definitely. And that was my main, you got to face it. But I would also say if you're only paying interest to your mortgage, there's something a bit off. And yes, that's where you want to look for cash. So my job as a financial coach is to help people find cash. Yes. The mortgage broker shops them, and the realtor helps you find the home, right? Yes. Like it's a whole team, right? So
you help me find
and we all interplay. What? Sorry, I'm simplifying it.
Is there any under the bed or the mattress or in the closet? I want to find it.
Well, you can sign up as a client. My second session, we do flipping cushions. We look for money. Look through the budget. I call it flipping cushions. So you got to find it wherever you can.
I remember
Yeah.
when I was a kid and my dad would come home from going out with friends, and he had all this change in his pockets and everything, so debit and used with cards. And then after we went to bed, me and my sister would pull up the cushions and look for the quarters and the dimes and nickels, which was a lot of money back then. But yes, I can relate. Look under the cushions.
You can find them
Yeah.
anywhere. You can find money. Those $50, right? 50
Yes.
bucks a month. That's $600 a year. If you can find it every week, you're looking at quite a chunk. So,
That's where it adds up. You're so
yeah,
right.
yeah, 2,500 a year. So great. So now one more question for you. A lot of rumblings about recession. Things that are kind of coming on. So looking ahead at what's coming, what do you think, if I'm in a home, let me put it to you both ways. If I'm looking to buy a home or sell, I mean, typically you have to do both. What would kind of your big caution be from a realtor lens? What would kind of be the watch out for people? So we're kind of seeing.
Yeah. So if you're, well, first of all, about the recession, there's been a lot of talk in the news, and economists and experts have been saying that we could be going into a recession. And it's possible because the Bank of Canada seems to be driving us into that. We just don't know the future. And if we do go into a recession, yeah, that could impact the market, the real estate market a little bit more. But the thing is, we don't know, and we may curb that. So it's hard to say. And buyers may say, well, should I buy now or should I wait? Because what if the market goes down further? And we really don't know. What I always say, everybody wants to buy low, sell high. So buy in the lowest market, sell in the highest market, so they can take advantage. Well, honestly, we don't know when the bottom is or the low of the market is until the market starts going up again. And then we can look back and say, oh, that was the bottom. And sometimes we can miss that. And really, it's very, very hard to predict. But what I can say, okay, let's look a little bit at history. So if I look at the average sales price in the GTA in Toronto this year, the peak was February. And I have the stat right in front of me. The average sales price all over, that includes houses, semis, detached, townhouses, condos, everything. In February in the GTA was 1,334,000. So just a little over 1.3. Today it's under 1.1. So it's dropped in many areas 20%, some areas 10%, some areas 15%. Right now the average sales price is $1,089,000. So I would say to a buyer today, and this is honestly what I have recently said, and I've had two buyers who recently bought, and they were both first-time home buyers. I said to them, listen, I can't predict what will happen in January, February, or March. But what I can tell you is that right now we are down 20%, some areas 15% in the GTA. That is a great opportunity to jump into the market. I mean, you're paying 20 to 15% less than if you were buying in February. And what I would say to them is, I don't know if the market could drop another 5% this coming winter. It could. And maybe it won't. Maybe we are at the bottom right now, and this is your opportunity. Only you can make that decision. But what I would say is that if it did drop another 5%, then the only time you do realize the loss is if you sell. You sell at the bottom if it's next March or April, but you're not planning to sell. If you're planning to stay another 10 years, if you look at history, in the GTA, prices have doubled almost every 10 years. So in general, generally speaking, from the last 2 to 3 months up to the next 6 months, you're buying at the bottom of the market. It might fluctuate 5% up or 5% down, but right now you're buying 20% less than almost a year ago. What a great opportunity. Yes, rates are higher, but if you can afford it, this is the time to buy. If you want to wait to the winter or next spring, and you feel right about that, then you should. A salesperson should never pressure you into doing something that person wants. You should do what you want. Weigh it all out, look at the statistics, and do what you feel is right. If you wait, then you might be right on the timing, but you also could miss the bottom. So just look at the big picture. If you have a down payment, you have an interest rate that you can afford, locked in, fine, and you can find a great opportunity right now, now is a great time to buy if you're a first-time home buyer. If you're looking to sell a home, and you are looking to buy as well, years like earlier this year and last year and the year before, when the market was insane and you can get 15 to 20 offers on every single property, then it was a no-brainer. You buy first because it was guaranteed you'd sell. No problem selling, and you probably get 200,000 over the asking. So nobody was selling first, because why sell first? You had to find the house, because what you're buying probably has 10 or 12 offers as well. So the biggest challenge was to find the right home and not overpay. Well, the market's different now. Right now, properties are staying longer on the market. We're not getting top dollar. People are negotiating. So if you're buying and selling, I would recommend every single client sell first, because then you know for sure that you've sold. And then also you know what you're working with financially, what kind of price you've got, and how much equity you have to bring to the next place. I would always also say, if you're selling first, the key is just to make sure that you have enough time to close on a purchase. So if you're selling today, Tyler, I would say try to get a 90-day closing on your offer. If somebody's offering to buy your home, get a 90-day closing. That gives you a month to look. And maybe the property you're buying, that seller wants 60 days, closing, and that lines up. And then if the property is vacant, you even have longer time to look. So you always look at that. And then before, I would always have said, it's best to buy first, because you're going to sell no problem. And what I would say to you too is, a big question I get from clients is, wow, the market's down 20%. I've lost 20%. Really, we haven't lost. Only if you sold then, and if you sold now, then you'd realize the loss. But when you're buying and selling in the same market, everything is relative. If you sold back in February and you sold for a high peak number, more than likely you would have been buying in that same market too. So you sell high and you buy high. If you're selling right now and you consider it low, you're selling low and buying low. It is all relative. As long as you buy within that sort of 3 to 4 week period of when you're doing the other, it is relative. And now is a great time to buy and sell, because percentage-wise, if you're buying in the peak, you're paying a lot more dollars if you're buying and selling at that point. So, things always change. There's cycles. It's cyclical. This too will pass. If we head into a recession, the biggest things that I've learned in the past, and I know I'm talking a lot, but one of the biggest things I've learned in the past is during challenging times, for me, is to stay out of consumer debt, and also to have an emergency fund. Those two things alone will help you to ride the storm.
Perfect. Took words right from my mouth. There you go. Perfect. No, and I appreciate the practical approach you take. I always, stepping into your world, I always say the real estate market, this may be me oversimplifying, but this is how I see it. It's supply and demand.
Yeah.
Things will shift. Interest rates rise, right?
Yes.
It lowers demand because the stress test starts hitting. If people start selling, there'll be more supply come up, right? So it's all supply and demand. So just like you said, it's cyclical, but generate your cash flow, get rid of your debt, and work with professionals, right?
Yes.
So that's where, if you get a mortgage broker and you get a realtor who are on your side, they'll help you navigate and know when to step. And I speak from experience.
Yes.
Patty G, he helped me when I sold my home in Toronto. We sold it, 2 days at 20% over?
I know. So great, Tyler.
Yeah.
It was a win.
It allowed me to have the freedom now to pursue my passion. And that's ultimately what I'm there for you guys about. Structure your finances in a way so you can live the life you want. And if you're a first-time home buyer, I know Patrick mentioned some of it, but I had a recording back in April this year. It's on my YouTube channel called Own It. So there was myself, my local realtor here, and a local mortgage broker I work with, and we go through steps. So I hear a lot of the time, that was really part of the impetus for starting this business. So many people feel like they can't buy. Well, we walk through the steps if you want to buy. And those small actions, we built to a $65,000 down payment in 5 years. Just small actions that you take. So just stick with it, go with it. And thanks, Patrick, for coming on. How can people reach you if they're looking to get into the market in the GTA?
Yeah, area? You can listen. I can my email address is my last name, Gillis, Gillis, Rogers.com. Really easy. Gillis at Rogers.com. And I can put in the chat my cell if you want, or just look me up, Patrick
I'll
Gillis.
post when I post this. I'll put it below for you
Perfect.
if you like.
Yeah.
You can put your
Absolutely.
content.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's a good man, somebody I'd trust, and yeah, just keep going, right? So biggest message from today that I have for you, don't get caught up in the shuffle. Just if something comes at you, take a breath, look at what you want, look at your life, replan, talk to someone if you need, and we're here. So that's it for today. Thanks again, Patty G, for coming on. It was a great time. I'm gonna stop the recording soon, open for any questions, but we'll be, so I run the second and fourth Thursday of each month. So I believe the next is December 8th. We'll have a hope session and may have a guest speaker, still lining it up, but looking at if you're looking to change your career.
Wow, sounds great, Tyler.
All right. Thanks, Patrick. Have a good one.
Keep going. Keep doing what you're doing. You're impacting lives. People who have dreams and they really just don't know how to achieve it need help from people and experts and guidance from people like you. So keep going for it and keep doing this. It's amazing. You're changing lives.
Thanks, Patrick. Yeah, I appreciate it. It's that's my motto: achieve dreams. So I want you guys to live the dreams and the life that you want. That's my job, to help you see how to do that.
Amen.
So reach out, and I'll put my links in the comments, etc. below. But have a good one. And if we don't chat again, Merry Christmas. But thanks again, Patrick.
Thanks, Tyler. Thanks, guys, for joining.